Are we on? Wait, where's the chat? Hi. Has it started? Hello? Has this really started? Hello. Oh. Do you see me moving? Everything's working good. Good. Thank you. All right. Hello. I think we'll wait for a few more people to come in, I guess. But good morning. It's 7 a.m. in Japan. And I hope it's a reasonable time for most of you. I thought last time I did it at about 12 p.m. here, which was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the morning in Europe. So I felt really sorry. So I thought I should, take the early morning this time. Good, good. Hello, hello. Thank you for streaming again. Thank you for coming again. All right. Today I have this little course prepared. It was part of a commission I got from junior high school, actually a long time ago, maybe a year ago. They wanted me to tell their junior high school students what it's like to work in Japan. And since they asked me, I thought, well, I'm gonna take a historical approach on this. So I thought I should share this with you guys before the year ends, and I guess it's a belated Christmas present for you guys. I hope you enjoy it. It's 2 in California. Oh, good afternoon. 4 p.m. Louisiana. Good afternoon. 5 p.m. Southern Ontario. Oh, Canada. Good afternoon. Konbanwa. A little late for, in the UK, yes. Thank you. Sorry, in France it's going to be very late. I hope I don't cut your sleeping time too much. All right. So, I've titled this 日本人の礼儀への長き道のり, which means Japan's long journey, long road to politeness. Japanese people's politeness saga. So, yeah, thank you, India. I know it's in 3 in India. Thank you very much for showing up. I'm sorry it's around, it's not in a convenient time. 11 p.m. in Rome. Okay, hope it's not too late. All right. So, where should we start? So, first of all, just maybe an update of where I am in terms of product development for myself. So as you might have already heard, I am a storyteller now. Somebody on YouTube gave me this honorable title, maybe I don't know, some months ago, and I really liked it. Storyteller. I was invited to a radio program, Tokyo FM, with Guy Perryman, the DJ there, and then he asked me who I was, what do I do, and the first thing that came to mind was that comment. So I said I'm a storyteller. So now I'm officially a storyteller. I have published 4 books, Love Tales of Ancient Japan being the most recent, and today what we're gonna talk about a lot will come from Love Tales of Ancient Japan, actually. Today we're going to discuss ancient Japan. What was it like? What were Japanese people like then, right? And you'll be surprised. And I have 2 audiobooks now, recorded by myself. It takes a long time, right? Like recording a whole book, like reading like a 220-page book, takes a long time. So I haven't started on horror tales, recording horror tales yet, but I think I'll get on with it next year. And just for you guys, since you guys showed up for me, Storyteller, yes. I really like this title, Storyteller. For you guys, because you guys showed up, I want to give you a little update on what I'm working on for next year. I'm working on several things, but one of which will be a fifth book, and I'm titling it, I can't give you away everything yet, but something of the Tokyo Islands. And it's going to be a very different theme from what I've ever written. So I hope you guys will like this too. Anyway, so let's talk about Japanese people now. If you've ever been to Japan, you will probably have seen this, right? So Japanese people in public, I have to stress, in public, they tend to avoid making a scene. That's the last thing all Japanese people want. Okay, and they stay quiet on the train. They avoid interrupting mid-talk. So I think I posted somewhere, like maybe a year ago, that if you are like a talker, you talk nonstop for an hour, you have that ability, then Japanese people will listen to you for an hour without saying a thing. So because we're taught that interrupting mid-talk, interrupting someone mid-talk is very rude. And we try to speak politely to strangers, I think, most of the time. I think more so in Western Japan. They tend to be friendlier there. 午後5時50分. Oh, so that's a good time. That's nice. I like how this feels like a class lesson. Yes. So actually, I used to be a teacher for how many? 13 years. So this is very close to what I used to do. But live streaming, it's my second time, I guess. I only started this month. So this is my new skill. I'm working on it. So please bear with me for the first few times until I get better at it. And Japanese people, in public, they tend to take turns without being told, like what you see at train stations. Why? Because it's fair for everyone, and etc. Now, so what I'd like to convey to you today is that although politeness is a social norm in Japan now, there was a long and winding road for Japan to get to this point. And to give it away, it took us more than 1,000 years since we decided that we're going to be polite. We're going to be polite. It took 1,000 years. Okay, so I want to show you this saga. Before, like in ancient Japan, there was a lot of killing each other, and killing is not polite, right? So now being polite is the norm, and along with history, I'll tell you what's going on in modern Japanese people's minds when they behave politely or seemingly politely. What's going on in their minds? I'll tell you that too. So if you have any questions, please ask anytime through the chat box, and if I see it, I'll try to answer as many as possible. Okay. Is live stream by any chance a precursor for real life live shows? Oh, yeah, maybe. Once I get used to like speaking impromptu like this, because I've through the shorts, I had been like recording, right? I stutter a lot, so I re-record many times, like a few seconds at a time, and it's only my second time to live stream, so I'll probably get used to this format or used to speaking live in about half a year, and then maybe I'll think about live performances, maybe. Thank you. Are you staying hydrated? Oh, thank you for reminding me. If you hadn't reminded me, I would have gone non-stop for an hour and a half. Killing is not polite. No, not at all. All right. So, where'd it go? So, this is a woodblock print by Utagawa Hiroshige, the woodblock print artist. I think he's one of the two most famous woodblock print artists, along with Hokusai. This is by Hiroshige. And I posted this woodblock print before, maybe twice. So some of you may have remembered this. And what's going on here? So we see, this is a post town. I think it was Naito Shinjuku. So it's near Kyoto. This is along the Tokaido highway, which was built or established in the Edo period, so 400 years ago. And it's towards the end of the journey between Edo and Kyoto. And this is a notorious post town for these ladies called pullerins. So these ladies, the bigger ladies that are pulling the two men, the two poor men, what are they doing? They stand by in front of their inns. So all the structures you see on both sides of the road, they are inns, and these pullerins, they stand in front of their inns, and their job is to encourage passersby to stay at their inn. So I want to make a point here that 400 years. This is 400 years ago. So right now they would never do this. It's also illegal. But back then, they encourage people to stay at their inns by physically pulling them in. So they were far from being polite. I told you through one short that at one point in this post town, these pullerins formed three-man cells, like in Naruto. So two ladies would go from behind, to a introverted-looking traveler from behind, and then hold him from behind. And the third woman, she would tackle him in the stomach and push him into their inn, and that's how they got their customers. So not nice, right? That was like where the social norm was 400 years ago. Okay. Today you have people making you go deaf with makeshift megaphones. Right, that's right. I like at department store, not department, like not department stores. What do you call it? Those small shopping malls in Harajuku for targeting young people. There are these ladies in megaphones. You're right, shouting at the crowd about 30% off or 40% off. Those kind of things. But in general, we're still nice at department stores, I think, to customers. Now, today we're focusing on this time period, 604 AD. This year was very important, I think, in my mind, because it was the year of the initiation of the Japanese identity. All right. This was 1,400 years ago. And this is the world of court nobles working in the imperial palace with the emperor. And there are no samurai yet. They haven't emerged yet. So it may seem like the most boring historical time frame in Japanese history. And it is, to be honest. As you can guess from the picture, it's devastating when this type of picture comes up in your textbook, right? Just people sitting around, right? You have no idea what they're doing. But not the part I'm going to talk about today. It will be quite amusing. So the Japanese archipelago was ruled by several tribes in prehistoric times. And by the 7th century, this one tribe alliance called the Yamato family, finally established rule over half of Japan, and they became the imperial family. Right? So these are the ancestors of the imperial family now. Now, in our modern day, the Japanese emperor is the emperor. Right? We all acknowledge that the imperial family is a special family that represents Japan. But that was not the case during the 7th century. Right? In the eyes of the other tribes, the imperial family was not respected as much as they are today. And Japan wasn't even called Japan back then. It hadn't even come up with a country name yet. Right? So it's like you found a few friends in your neighborhood to, do music, to jam with. And it's like, hey, you play bass? And then, hey, I'll play guitar. Right? I know a guy who can sort of play the drum. Right? Okay, let's jam. So they've been playing together for several weeks now, but they haven't been called to a gig or anything. So there is no need for a band name yet. Right? So there was almost no international relations back then yet. And that's why they didn't need a name for the country. That's 7th century Japan. A fellow Canadian worked in Japan in the 90s, and he described it as polite to the point of becoming rude. which I've always found. That's right. That's a pretty accurate way to express what's happening here. It is polite to the point of becoming rude. It's like, well, we'll discuss this later. That's a very interesting anecdote. So going back to the band analogy. So the Yamato family is like the singer and guitarist. He writes songs too. So if the band members are asked, who's your leader? Then everyone would answer, well, I guess that would have to be Yamato, right? So everyone admits that Yamato often takes leadership roles, but Yamato is like their peers, right? It's not like they're like same age, right? So that's where Japan was back then. This Yamato family, they're the leader, but they're not above the clouds. Okay, so that's where Japan was, or the imperial family was. So there's already a kind of hierarchy, but it's not a hard, rigid, established system yet. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So the imperial family tried to create hierarchy in several ways. They, first of all, imported the Chinese court system, at least partially. And Japan, as you may have noticed, it likes to import foreign culture, but not just import them. It cherry picks the part of the cultures, foreign culture they want to import. So we keep the toxic parts out. That's how Japan has developed over centuries. So they one part of the Chinese court system they imported, they liked especially, was the color-coded attire system. It's like color, what do you call it? The Power Rangers. It's like Power Rangers. They like the color code system to establish hierarchy. So it was like this. It's like, I'm emperor, so I get to wear white. He's my son. He's the crown prince, so only him gets to wear yellow. Higher nobles, you can wear nice, mature colors like purple, but all you lowly nobles can wear red, green, blue, pale pink, those unimportant colors. That's what it was like. So the imperial family also compiled Japanese mythology. Like there's a lot of legends and folk tales told in different regions until then. And they compiled into a chronicle that connects the time of the gods and ancient Japanese history. So that they could say that the Yamato family, the imperial family, are the descendants of the founding gods of the Japanese archipelago. Right? So that's why the emperor is considered as a half-godly figure, and the entire population is, right now, the entire population in modern Japan now is playing along with that storyline. Of course, we all know that he's just a fellow human, but we play along for the sake of peace. Hello from Texas. Thank you. Love the stories. Thank you very much for showing up today. I hope you like this story too. All right. Nani? Surprised to see being red being much lower. I was surprised too. It's like white is not even a Power Ranger color. So, but they liked color coding stuff. And one of the many initiatives of the imperial court to establish hierarchy was, or order, I guess, was the drafting of the first constitution of Japan. It's called the 17-Article Constitution. It's entitled the 17-Article Constitution, but it's more like a guideline for nobles on how they should behave. So they put this on paper. It's very long, so I won't go through everything. But from the examples I'll give you, you'll see what kind of people or attitudes were being revered in Japan. And the best way to enjoy this is very important. The best way to enjoy this is to think about why these had to be written down on paper. So in other words, think about why a school would write down, and post it on the wall, no running in the hallway. Why do they do that? It's because there are people who run in the hallway, right? So this 17-article constitution is more like a 17-article roast of delinquent nobles, calling them out and telling them how they should behave instead. Okay, so this was compiled in 604 AD, so over 1,400 years ago. the vision to be a polite culture was set all the way back then. Now, well, before I go on, we too in the UK have developed a reputation of being so polite we live rent-free in our own heads. Please, Japan, learn from our mistakes and keep the basics in place. Right, that's right. It's very important for us, especially, like, as you might agree, when you're born into a particular culture or any culture, it's easy to take what we take for granted, right? Some things that we do can be very special in the eyes of other cultures, but we don't realize that because we are in the water, right? So, and then we might lose it, and that's very unfortunate. So yes, we have to be very careful about this. Right? Some things never change. That's right. So so I use a school analogy for if in case some of you are very young. Now, for adults, another analogy is the company, right? It's the same thing for companies. Like, how many of you work for a company? You know why companies make vision statements, right? Why do companies make vision statements? Right? It's to set a direction, like, toward a future state they want to realize, which also means they're not at that state right now, right? That's why they make a vision. So, for example, this is a bad vision. It's like, to become the world's most admired brand, which means they're not right now, right? I find this very funny about companies, but anyway. So here is the 17 article constitution, 17 か条憲法, aka the you brats better behave or else guideline. So there's 17 articles, but I won't go through everything, but I've picked up the ones that when Japanese people read this, we think, that's us, right? So the point here is that we've become what the Constitution says over a course of 1,400 years. It took a long time. Wait, let me look at the comments first. I have been watching this YouTuber who makes shorts on Japanese folklore used to scare little kids into acting right. You remind me of him. That's great. Yeah, we need those. You know, those like what they call those. I don't know what it's called. Soft parenting. Soft parenting. There are, of course, benefits to that approach, but there are benefits to the fear mongering approach too. You know, we should not be taking extreme approaches. We should take a balance. That's my personal opinion. Okay, so Constitution item number 1: cherish harmony and avoid conflicts. That's like us. That's like us, right? Cherish harmony and avoid conflicts. And I've transcribed what's actually written in the Constitution, of course, in my language, in my tone. But this is basically what's written. Okay. Everyone needs to work with someone. But because people of character are rare, we sometimes disobey our bosses or parents and argue with people around us. But if supervisors and their staff discuss constructively, things will actually get done. So, like, reading this, what's funny about this Constitution is that you can feel the rage of whoever wrote it. It's like he was the crown prince of the imperial family, and he's just had it with nobles. So this is the foundation of Japanese organization and communities, right? It's considered very important to work as a team, or in other words, you need to do your best to function as a limb or organ of the team. So there's no, like, what do you call it? The protagonist mindset, like the main character mindset. There's none of that in corporate settings, in community settings. You always think of yourself as a limb. That's how Japanese people think of their role in society, right? So this means if you accomplish something, you don't take credit as an individual, right? You consider it the work of the team, no matter how big your contribution was. And if something fails, the good part is that nobody should be put under the spotlight to take the blame, right? The whole team takes the blame for better or worse, right? So that's corporate life in Japan. Why does that make me feel like a 5-year-old chat? Of your videos, and I show them to my mom too, and she adores. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I get a lot of comments about families enjoying it with their parents, with their kids. That's very heartwarming for me. Keep your ego at the door. That's right, or stuff will get done. That's right. So that's like taught through starting from like kindergarten. Starting from kindergarten, and the climax is at the first month-long training period when you join your first company. Traditional companies have this 1-month-long training period for new grads, and that's where they clarify what they have been learning, right? So there are, of course, pros and cons to this approach, but one of the most apparent pros is that we have an orderly society where everyone shares social norm to be behaved, basically. Teamwork at the national level, that's right. Exactly. That's how it works right now. So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the word seppuku. That ideal of harmony, avoid conflicts, that was an ideal, 1,400 years ago, and 400 years ago, it was still more of an ideal. So when a samurai family or domain made a big mistake in policy making, they had to show sincerity to its people and higher authorities by taking responsibility. In the samurai world, taking responsibility often meant killing yourself. Seppuku. Seppuku, the kanji here, this means cut. This means stomach. Cut stomach. So it's self-explanatory. But seppuku means you cut open your stomach and have an assistant behind you with a katana sword, and so that you won't struggle, you won't suffer for too long. After they confirm that you have done that, they slash your head off, so that you won't feel the pain anymore. I wrote about what seppuku was, why it was done, why it was so common, why it became so common. In which book was it? Maybe it was Horror Tales of Japan. But if you want to know more, please. How much is the way politeness is pursued different between the prefectures or islands? I can imagine Hokkaido and Shikoku have to have some differences in interpreting how to achieve harmony. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. So Shikoku is the southernmost big island of Japan, and Hokkaido is the northernmost big island of Japan, and they have very different histories. So yes, they naturally have a different approach to politeness. If I just mention what's unique about those places is that Shikoku, especially like Fukuoka, I've actually never been there before, but from the people I've met from Fukuoka, and it's pretty famous. I've heard that they have it's a very polarized, gender polarized society there, where women tend to take the classic stereotypical role of women, while men often take the classic stereotypical role of men in terms of relationships, right? So it's said that men live comfortably there, and I've never been there before, but it's said that women live comfortably there because there's no competition between the two sexes. It's like there's little. I hear that there's little feminism there, so it's easier life is easier in terms of gender differences. So I heard that they accept their biological traits, and of course you don't have to go with it, but many people tend to. That's what I heard. Um, and in northern Japan, in Hokkaido is a little special because it was the territory of the Ainu people. It's the what do you call it? It's like the Aborigines. Like they've been there for, and they're like a different type of people who had inhabited Japan, like in different times from mainland Japanese people. So they have like tattoos all over their bodies, even their faces, and they were kind of pushed out, like pushed more north by the mainland Japanese people until they realized, hey, we should keep this culture too. So they were discriminated and everything. But Hokkaido was also had a wave of inhabitants from mainland Japan. And these were people who, were naturally okay with living away from home. So they're more kind of liberal or open-minded people. So Hokkaido tends to be very open-minded. They're not very. They're much less. I hear that they're much less. What do you call it? They're much more tolerant with foreigners or foreign cultures coming in. They have a more open mindset, so they might appear more polite than what you would see in, for example, in Tokyo. For example, like Tokyo people tend to seem cold, but I'll talk about this later. But they're not trying to be cold. They're just trying to be as efficient as possible, right? Not to waste anyone's time, including yourself. Anyway, and so going back to seppuku, right? So in the samurai world, taking responsibility meant, killing yourself. But if the samurai family head admitted that it was his error, and if he took responsibility, the central samurai government, the shogunate, would see that samurai family as inadequate of ruling that domain. So they could get disbanded altogether, right? And that means the entire staff, like there were like hundreds of samurai and servants working under the samurai head of that domain, they would all get fired, right? They would all lose jobs. So what often happened, this is terrible. What often happened was the samurai staffer who was in charge of the initiative became the scapegoat and was ordered to seppuku so that the rest of the domain could survive. Right? So that's what seppuku was, right? This is in the Edo period. So individuals sacrificed themselves for the sake of the whole. Of course, if this happened today, the company would be condemned and for compliance issues. But keep in mind that the spirit of self-sacrifice started there and is still there. Okay. All right. You look at the comments. No, it's not a stereotype. I have two colleagues, him from Fukuoka, her from Shizuoka, and lovely people, but he won't cook anything, and let's keep it at that. Right, so, I don't know. The older men who I've met, like there was one guy from Tokyo who got transferred to Fukuoka for like 2 years, and then when he came back, I was an English teacher back then, so I was teaching this guy who was like probably 50 years old. And he said, it was heaven. I felt respected, whereas I'm disrespected at home. So, which makes me cry. But he said, when I retire, I'm gonna live in Fukuoka. So maybe he's living in Fukuoka right now. Anyway, number 2, Constitution item number 2. Follow Buddhist practices diligently. Most people are not innately evil. If you give guidance patiently, they will change for the better. Okay. By the way, do you know the 5 precepts of Buddhism? Okay, so very quick. One is abstain from taking life, abstain from taking what is not given, which means abstain from stealing, abstain from sexual pleasure. And more specifically, this means if you're a male monk, don't touch women, and abstain from false speech, and so abstain from lying, basically. And last one is abstain from intoxicants that cloud the mind, which means in Japan, don't drink. In Japan, there's not much of a drug problem, so it's more about alcohol. I don't know if I should spend time here, but all these precepts were broken by monks throughout Japanese history. It's terrible. Like abstain from taking life. Well, there were types of monks called warrior monks, whose job was initially to defend their temple because they're like very spiteful neighbors, so they had to defend their temple. So it was self-defense. But at one point, like rival temples, they started fighting each other and killing each other. So yeah, that it's the same in anywhere in the world. Abstain from stealing. I guess that's I haven't read anything bad monks have done about that. Abstain from sexual pleasure. They did, but they took they interpreted the teachings literally. So it says abstain from touching women, basically. So they touched boys. That it's sick, but that's I'm just being honest. That's Buddhist monks in Japan in the past, at least. Abstain from false speech, from lying. Well, that I think they try to keep to. And abstain from alcohol, though they drank. Not everyone, of course, but there are many folk tales telling about Buddhist priests at like local temples. They buy drinks, they buy alcohol. So it's like, why do you have these kind of folk tales? It's basically peasants getting back at these people because they're higher authorities, basically. So they can't really criticize them. So they made up folk tales to commemorate, in memory of these badass monks. I remember the warrior monks. Yes, I think I don't know if I wrote about warrior monks somewhere. I think it's in the folk tales of Japan book. I think I wrote about them. There were some gunfighting monks too, who were mercenaries and hired by feudal lords so that they can win battles. So going back to the age of court nobles in ancient Japan, the first of the 5 precepts of Buddhism is abstaining from taking life. But 1,400 years ago, assassinations of political rivals were common practice. So I believe this article is trying to say, murder should not be the solution, please stop. Right? So also to be noted is the mentioning of people being innately good. It says people are not innately evil, which means in Japan, we generally believe that people are innately good. They're not born evil. This is a very important point, underlying concept of Japanese culture and Japanese business culture. We often make rules and make decisions assuming that our counterparts are good, sensible people. So it doesn't work all the time, of course, and it has been changing to adapt to globalization recently, but still it is an underlying philosophy in everything we do. So that's why I think that's why we still have the death penalty. So we give you chances, and if you're still a bad guy, well, then that's it, So that I think it works. We need the death penalty because we believe that people are innately good, and even if you're not, we treat you assuming that you are innately good. But we find out that you're not. Okay, that's it. Right, that's why. Sensei, how does the second rule work with someone who is particularly stupid? And I mean, as we say in Italy, someone who will piss off a saint. And so that's what I said. So that's why we have the death penalty, right? I think that we give them chances. Like we're polite until we've had it, right? So that's Japanese culture for you. So it's not uncommon for contracts, like corporate contracts, to be like 30 pages long in the US, for example, right? But contracts in Japan were traditionally very simple, very short, like 1 page. It was assumed that people wouldn't take advantage of holes in agreements because then the party that's taking advantage may win in that occasion in the short term, but they would lose trust from society and nobody would do business with them ever again. It's their funeral. That's how we approach things. I hope that answers your question. Do you know the tale of Urashima Taro? It's a classic Japanese folktale that every single Japanese person knows. Basically, it's about a kind fisherman named Urashima. He helps the sea turtle from being bullied from bullying children, from children bullying it, right? He's invited to as a gesture of thanks, this sea turtle invites Urashima to an underwater castle, and there's a beautiful lady called Otohime. She's the hostess, and she welcomes Urashima with glamorous song and dance and food. And Urashima's like, wow, this I've never been treated like this before, and you're very hot. They have a good time there, and I think after about 3 days of partying, Urashima says, I think I should get going. My mom's waiting alone at my house, and then Urashima, I'm sorry, the Otohime, the princess, the hostess is like, but you should say I'm hot, and then Urashima's like, that's very true. So he stays for another week, another month, and then when he noticed, it's like 3 years had passed. So Otohime was very, very hot, I guess. But so he said, okay, I really, really have to go. And then Otohime gives him a box as a souvenir. Okay, this is in our memory of our good time here. Please, what's mysterious about this is, please take this home with you, but please don't open it. And he's like, okay, I don't know what that means, but he goes home, and then he realizes that, I don't know, 300 years have passed, or 500 years. It depends on the story, but it depends on the variety of the story. But and his mother's of course gone already, and then he has no friends, and he's so lonely that the only thing he could cling on was the fond memory at the castle, underwater castle. So he opened up the box, and then out came like a plume of smoke, and then he turned into a very old man and died. Right, so that was the story. So there are many Japanese folktales like this that are about the idea that good things happen if you are a good person, like Urashima initially, right? And you need to be careful also, because even if you are a good person, greed can get the best of you, and then everything you had gained from being nice will leave you completely. And that's like a recurring concept in Japanese folklore. So there's a lot of emphasis on being a good-willed person in this culture. So of course that doesn't mean all Japanese people are good, but there's a conscious effort to try to be one, and there's a conscious pressure to try to be one. Okay, let's see. Sort of like crossed with Pandora's box. That's right. Yeah, it's interesting how similar concepts appear in different cultures. Of course, it could be that in the case of Japan, through the Silk Road, it connects Japan, China, like Persia, those areas. So it could be that stories traveled through the Silk Road to Japan, but some human studies people, they also have theorized that no, these ideas are like built into us as Homo sapiens, right? And they just arise before even sharing ideas. It arises in different geographical areas on their own. So either can be true, but it's very interesting that how we share some similar concepts. Number 3, obey the emperor's orders. So just think about why it had to be written, right? If the emperor were the universe, this is what's written. If the emperor were the universe, his or her staff would be the earth, not the other way around. That's what it says. So actually, it says his or her staff. It's because female emperors were not uncommon in ancient Japan. It was revived, I think, once, maybe twice in the Edo period, and it may be revived in modern times again. Recently, that's the talk of the imperial family right now. But anyway, so why did they had to write this down? So between the 7th and 12th centuries, like a very long time, nobles weren't really cooperative with the emperor. So they would, because the analogy I gave you before, the Yamato tribe was not above the cloud. They're like, just a few hundred years ago, you were our peers. That's how they felt about the emperor. So they were not very cooperative. They were not obedient. So they would make all sorts of excuses to skip work and come to important ceremonies just for the refreshments and go home before the closing speech. So you know how you would attend events that you're not 100% into, but they have free pizza, right? So company parties, imperial court, same thing, right? The emperor even had to guilt trip them to attend ceremonies by sending them food and drinks beforehand, right? So that they will feel sorry if they don't show up, right? That's how bad it was. So nowadays, hierarchies are strictly observed. Your boss tells you to do something, you try your best to do it, and that's the norm. But back then, it was not the case. I like how they had to write literally not the other way around, implying that somebody tried to be cheeky with it. That's right. Yeah, so, Japan had its rough times. Number 4, every one of you must have manners and principles. If the supervisor lacks principles, the supervisees will commit crimes. If the governors are principled, their people will be too, and the country will naturally settle in peace. So why was this written? In actuality, provincial governors. So when we talk about ancient Japan, we're talking about Kyoto. Everything revolves around Kyoto, or it happens in Kyoto. So all the court nobles are in Kyoto. And the provincial governors too, they're in Kyoto. Everyone's stationed there. So if you read my 4th book, Love Tales of Ancient Japan, almost everything happens in Kyoto. That's the center of Japan. And court nobles in Kyoto, they couldn't care less about everywhere else in Japan. So they neglected governance of all the other parts of Japan. So there were no police organizations. People got killed. People died of hunger so easily. It was a terrible time outside Kyoto. But Kyoto nobles, they didn't care because they thought that they were humans, and everyone else outside Kyoto, they were not humans. They're just lowly scums. They're lowly creatures that just make crops for us. That's how they felt. Okay, it's to be honest, that mindset is carried over a little bit in the central Kyoto people's mind a little bit, right? So, provincial governors, they are supposed to be the governors of, for example, Edo or Tokyo. Now it's the capital, but back then in ancient Japan, it was the bumpkin. It was the Goonies, right? It was the boonies. So the governors were supposed to be stationed there, but instead they just hired someone to go there in behalf of them, and they just stayed in Kyoto because they didn't want to leave. So it was pretty bad. So these provincial governors, or the people whom they hired in the countryside, would do whatever they pleased with the people they governed, like taking extra tax whenever they wanted to. So some of the early samurai were peasants who armed themselves in response to the need for protection from these delinquent governors. So that's one of the reasons samurai emerged. Court rule eventually ended in the 12th century because samurai grew so strong they overpowered the influence of the court. So there's some serious karma, over centuries for you right there. Now, another thing that's important is that leaders are expected to lead by being an example. So Tokugawa Ieyasu, he was the first Tokugawa shogun who started the Edo period. This Edo period was a warless era of 260 years, so I think it was a pretty big success. So this guy, he tried to set standards because he knew his life was not going to last any longer once he kind of unified Japan. So he started eating a frugal diet, a very healthy but frugal diet. And he demonstrated that he's not for spending a lot of money, right? Because if the top of the head of Japan was doing that, it feels awkward for his subordinates to be a spendthrift, right? So they would stand out in a bad way. So they were passive aggressively pressured to follow his ways to be frugal. So nowadays, CEOs of traditional Japanese companies are often the humblest people you'll ever meet. They set an example of how to be a respectable business person. So that is to say that if you meet Japanese leaders and managers who are overconfident with themselves or act very aggressively, arrogantly, they're generally not nice people, right? If you meet such a person, that's why they're still in that position. So in Japan, if you aim to be on top of others, you need to be humble. So that's just how it works. My mother followed this, who was a teacher in Japan. Briefly, she led by reputation, acted like you had done it, right? Yeah, that's right. Very much like a leader being principled, and in doing so, their underlings are too. That's right. So it seems to work, at least in Japan. So that kind of mindset was set forth as a vision 1,400 years ago. And I think this guy, Tokugawa, yes, he kind of expedited that 400 years ago. Number 7, fulfill your role and don't abuse your power, right? So when smart and principled officers take the reign, people say all sorts of good things about politics. The opposite ruins everything. So, jobs get done when people fulfill their role, and you need to adapt to your jobs. Jobs don't adapt to you. That's what it's written like that. So there's this business practice called job rotation in huge Japanese enterprises like Japan Railways. They assign some of their employees in a department like sales, for example, for 2 or 3 years, and then transfer them to a different department with a completely different job and repeat that process for like decades. So why do they do this? As you can imagine, this system does not develop super specialized experts in, for example, human resources, marketing, or sales. It develops super balanced generalists that has first-hand knowledge of almost all functions of the company. So it's so that they will be an executive eventually who can make solid decisions for the whole organization much later in their career. I think this is one reason they develop their humility, because you're like a newbie every 3 years, and you're aware that the organization is run thanks to so many people who are far experienced in their fields than you are as an executive, right? So I think it nurtures humble CEOs. I've actually met a person working for Japan Railways. I used to be like a trainer in like English business communication in my past job. So during that part of my career, I met a person working for Japan. I was training people in Japan Railways. So she told me that she started her career at JR, Japan Railways, as a train driver of a local line. And then years later, she was promoted to a train driver of a Shinkansen. That's their career path, right? So it's very interesting. They dream of local line drivers. They dream of becoming Shinkansen drivers. And then by the time I met her, she had moved to the HR department of the company, organizing training for the thousands of employees working at HR. So they do super different stuff within the company. There's like a job ecosystem in major companies like this. So these people adapt themselves into their new roles every time they get assigned to a new one. So it's like they don't pick their jobs, they just get assigned and they just adapt to it. So I think this works to develop their humility. Of course, there are pros and cons in terms of developing career, but these Japanese companies, they're meaning to they mean to hire or keep their employees hired for a lifetime. So that's why they do this. Doing the same thing at my job for ages, and I'm bored as hell, but at least it pays. That's right. Thank you. Yes, that's right. You used to work at JR. I didn't work at JR, but I was like the regular trainer in terms of English communication. So if a JR staff speaks to you in English, I might have. I did made a course for them a special course for them for JR people, how to communicate with their passengers. So if you talk to a JR employee, chances are that he might have seen my videos and in my past company and trained through my training program. I guess I need to force myself to sleep since my only work day. Oh, that's right. Okay, so thank you for showing up again. I know it's your second time in my live stream. Thank you again. See you later. Kosan, I watch your shorts every day and I own all your books. Thank you very much. I learn much and I always in an entertaining way. You're a treasure. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm working really hard to bring a 5th book to you early next year. So hopefully in spring. Please look forward to it. Next time in Japan, we gotta ask train drivers if they know Kyota sensei. Hopefully they do. But it was like, I don't know, how many years ago? 3-4 years ago? It was like 5 years ago to 3 years ago, I think. So hopefully they still remember me, but maybe not. I don't know. So please try asking. And they probably don't know because I post videos for English audiences. So there's a high chance they don't know me, that they don't know that I do this right now. Number 8, come to work early and work your hours. Basic things. It was not basic back then. There's a lot of work to do, and you're not going to get anything done by coming in late and excusing yourself from work early. Why did they write this down? So Japanese nobles were reportedly habitually late for work and often called in sick. They made full use of shamanistic and feng shui-like beliefs to book work days off, right? So they went something like, I got up this morning, but the office was in an unlucky direction from my house today. Or I was really looking forward to coming to work today, but my shaman said it wasn't a good day to go out. So, shaman says. That's what they said, And they commuted on ox carts, which were really slow. It was probably faster if they walked. But they were nobles, so, they couldn't be bothered. So nowadays, in the Japanese business world, you're expected to be at meetings 5 minutes early. So if you rush into a meeting room at like 10, that starts at 10, or you come in even like a few minutes late, you'll be seen as an irresponsible and clumsy person, right? So just be careful. That's amazing. It keeps everyone learning and enthusiastic. Driving 10 plus hours a day is insane enough. Yeah, insane, yeah. Right. So at least in Tokyo, we're spared from the long drives. In return, we get like a jam-packed train. But it's great to be a writer now because I don't have to deal with that anymore. All right, this is the ox cart, and I think is that a horse pulling it? No, I think it's ox. Sorry, it's an ox. But it was really slow, and this was this looks like an equivalent of a Mercedes in ancient Japan. So they had ranks to cars back then too, so you could tell what rank of an aristocrat a person was by looking at the ox cart, or they could tell if it was a woman inside or not by looking at her ox cart. I think it looked prettier or something. Number 9, do everything with sincerity. That's what makes or breaks. In other words, don't wing it. Right? Don't wing it. This is a very important concept in Japan too. Don't wing it. So Japanese business emails, if you have ever gotten one, all look very serious and super formal. But just remember that the people behind the emails are actually not so serious and formal. They're just following their protocols and making them look like very sincere people, because when they communicate to people outside their company, especially, they feel like they're representing their company. So they have to keep a formal tone. Yeah. You have the best YouTube shorts. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. Thank you for saying that. Recently, I'm treading into Dragon Ball realm, but I of course, I grew up on Dragon Ball, and I haven't watched the recent revamp to either, or the newer versions. I think the last one I saw was Super Saiyan, maybe 4. That was the last thing I saw. But I came to realize that now that Toriyama Akira is dead, has passed away, too, I feel that Dragon Ball, this is gonna be like a classic, it's like classic literature. It's like the Tale of Genji. It's gonna be treated like that very soon, I feel, because there's lots of fundamental anime culture things that happen in Dragon Ball that reappear in later anime, right? So I have a strong feeling that Dragon Ball is going to be treated like a classic, very important, and there are going to be academic subjects on it very soon, I think. I've always wondered how people with ADHD survive in Japan. I always have problems getting lost and being to places on time, even after being there 10 times before. So stressful, right? I assume it is a harder world for people with ADHD or in the spectrum. I think I am in the spectrum. That's part of the reason I think. Looking at my son, he's like slightly more extreme version of me in terms of the spectrum. So I don't think he'll fit in a corporate setting like I didn't. I tried, and I endured for like, I don't know, 15 years? 20 years? 20 years? But that was all I could do, right? So I have a feeling my son is not going to endure it. Yeah, that's basically what my supervisor from Kyoto told me when I had been a bit too informal with a client. Is it your relative? No, stay formal. Wow. Okay, Kyoto people can be, like that sometimes. But yeah, whenever you represent, whenever you talk to people outside your group, whatever layer it is, there are many layers. Like people outside your company, you treat them very politely. People outside your department, you treat them politely, right? And people within your team, it's like siblings, right? So it's a very different, they switch masks, they switch personalities like that, depending on whom they are talking to. Okay, number 10, control your anger. Don't show it. Don't be upset just because others do things differently. Each person has a different set of values. Things that you think are good may be bad for others. You're not always right. Your counterparts are not always wrong. Note that everyone, including yourself, is mediocre. If someone gets upset at you, take a moment to think to see if you yourself hadn't done anything wrong. This is so Japan. So, as you might notice, people they say sorry. The first thing they say is sorry. It's because it's in their genes now. At this point, it's in their genes that they need to first assume that I might have done something wrong. So you should first apologize when something goes wrong, because this is what we believe, because it might have been something you or your team did wrong, and as a matter of fact, the other person who's being upset is being inconvenienced for whatever reason, and you might have played a part in it, even if it's 10%. It's 10% your fault, right? So you should apologize for that. Right? It's not like you should apologize if you're 90% wrong, if you're 100% wrong. It's even if it's 10% your fault, there's something you should improve on, right? So that's how we try to think. That's our ideal. So you don't need to admit that it's your fault, but first apologize on behalf of the company, your department, or your team, because the other person needs that to pacify his or her anger. Because you can't, have a meaningful discussion with a person unless the other person settles down, right? This is a key point, and I would stress that Western cultures could at least try to understand the value of apologizing. Right, so we're like, since Japan's globalization, we sometimes hear that it's risky to apologize if you go to, for example, the US. Like if you have a road accident, it's very risky to apologize. I heard that before. But it's in our genes. We'll probably still do it. So I don't know. But in Japan, you'll see if you like step on a person's foot, the person who's walking in front of you, they'll apologize to you because maybe I was walking too slow, right? That's how they think. Okay, so 謝罪. This is in Japanese. It's called 謝罪. It's a sincere apology. This picture is a politician apologizing in front of the victims of a misfortune, and he's apologizing in front of cameras. It must be humiliating, right? But after this, he gets to keep his job, right? The public will forgive him for his sincere apology. That's why they do it, you know. Just remember that making an apology actually doesn't cost you anything, right? Your ego is what stops you from apologizing, and it might actually be hurting you, right? More. And apologizing helps to solve the problem quickly while maintaining a good relationship with the other person. So sincere apologies are actually a very cost-effective way to address problems in the business world. That's some real wisdom right there. People in the West can be so obsessed with being right. Right, and also like in relationships too, right? One side is obsessed with being right, winning the argument. Yeah, what we do is like we will apologize. We'll try to make up with that person several times, but if the person doesn't change his or her attitude, we'll just have a hard cut, and that's it. Okay, and then we'll just ignore the person. We'll just distance that person. And in Japanese society, when people lived in villages, in units of villages, being isolated meant death. It was the equivalent of telling you to die if people start ignoring you. So that's still an underlying, what do you call it, idea that runs in Japanese society. So, you know, people give you chances, so take them, right? And first step is to imagine, try to look back on your actions or words and see if there's anything wrong you did or said. Otherwise, yeah. Number 16, we're getting to the end. Be mindful of others. Think if it's the best time to force labor on peasants. This is directed more towards nobles and provincial governors. Between spring and summer, peasants are very, very busy farming crops and silkworms. What are we gonna eat if they can't farm? What are we gonna wear if they can't make silk? Think before you act. This is what's actually written. In ancient Japan, provincial governors would force farmers to provide labor to build a beautiful garden or a new temple whenever they felt like building one. And then when tax collection time came, they asked, like, is this all you've got? Why is the yield so small this year? So, you know, they don't understand the concept of labor because they haven't engaged in labor. That's you know, why it's a problem. So, you know, when peasants are forced to, you know, give up their labor time for construction, of course they can't be farming, you know, and growing things. So, of course the crop yields are going to be bad, right? So think about that. Right, so these governors were destined to be overthrown by samurai. Right, so samurai came in as heroes. When is it? It's like the 12th century, 13th century, around there. Maybe you already answered this question, but what part of your culture do you feel is the hardest part for others to understand? My struggle was keeping my emotions subdued. Right. I think the hardest part to understand would be, I think one is, how should I phrase this? That people in public put on several masks, and like self-expression in public is not a thing here. We don't need that because people are trying to go on with their lives. You self-express in drinking parties. You self-express at karaoke behind closed doors. You self-express with your close friends, not with strangers. We don't need that. We don't need disruption in our work days, on our work days especially. There are venues like, I think I wrote about this recently. There are venues like Harajuku. Harajuku is a station next to Shibuya. There's a street called Takeshita Street. It's where all the cosplayers gather, and it's like Halloween every day there. That's a designated have fun zone. So go have fun there, do crazy stuff there, but keep it there, and don't bring it outside anywhere in public. And that's I think one concept that's why we don't make a scene. I talked about this early today. We don't need it, right? That can come across as redistributing work from managers instead of piling everything onto one person, the fast one, right? Things get distributed so that nobody is sinking in work. I love that, right? Of course, in reality, of course, the fast one gets all the work. Yes. It's the same anywhere. But this is for better or worse. Japanese companies, it's harder for them to fire employees as a law. So there are company employees who hardly have any responsibility, but they have a desk and they are kept until retirement, or they're neglected to a point that they feel they need to leave. So those are some dark parts of Japanese corporate culture. But yeah, we try to just distribute work. Yes, that's true as a first step. But if you don't improve after being given many chances, then you get the silent ultimatum. Yes. Harajuku Takeshita Street is insane in the best way. I was there at 4 a.m. for some reason. And there were still people in outlandish clothing styles, and I loved it. Yes. So it's not that Japanese people are subdued. They just are trained to express themselves in designated places, in designated time. It's called TPO, time, place, occasion. Time, place, occasion. You need to think if the behavior you're trying to exert right now is right for this time, for this place, for this occasion. If not, don't do it. That's a key. I think if you keep that in mind, I think you won't be embarrassed anywhere in Japan. There's a time, place, and occasion for everything. So, ryokan, right? Ryokan is the Japanese for Japanese style inns, where it's like an exhibition hall of hospitality, Japanese hospitality. This holds true in these venues. The most considerate people are the most respected in Japanese society. So people who can imagine other people's pains and do something about it without being asked to, this type of person is respected the most. So this doesn't just pertain to Japan, but top hotels in the world would really work on their hospitality, right? They bend backwards to give you a pleasant experience, and that's how they get customers to come back, right? So you don't do that, you will see that customer never again. Last one, don't make decisions arbitrarily. Always discuss with others first, especially if it's a major decision. Okay. So I guess ancient nobles were making decisions on their own, and many of them were bad, I guess. That's why it's written here. So it takes time for Japanese organizations now to make decisions, and sometimes decisions are made too late, right? It is often frustrating to not see change occur for years. Recently, our new prime minister, the woman prime minister, Takaichi-san, we have never seen anything like her before. The pace, the speed of things that change under her administration, it's unprecedented in Japan. We were so used to a change taking 5 years, 10 years, but now it's things are changing. For the better, yes. So this is, of course, there are pros and cons, and there's a lot of con here in trying to make decisions deliberately, always, all the time. But at the same time, it's rare that established Japanese organizations make fatal errors due to greed or selfishness. So everyone's keeping each other in check. So you would almost never see like Toyota making stupid decisions. Right? It's because of this, thanks to this. So while the Japanese code of conduct does not help with driving fast growth, it certainly helps to maintain resilience and longevity, right? So as a matter of fact, like Japanese companies made up over half of all companies in the world with a history of over 100 years in 2022. There's like one or two companies in Japan that are over 1,000 years old. And there are many Japanese confectionery stores, especially in Kyoto, that have a history of like 600 years. So in Kyoto, they're big snobs. So they joke around like when in Kyoto, when you're having a conversation with Central Kyoto people and you mention a Japanese company. So Company A, they had their 200-year anniversary lately, and then the Central Kyoto people would say, "Oh, so they're a pretty young company." It's like that, so, because all the confectionery stores or the businesses around them are 600 years old, 800 years old, right? So that's their biggest flex. Yes, is there some alternative strain of Japanese culture that the current prime minister comes from? Or is she drawing inspiration from outside Japan? Well, she is often considered Mr. Abe children. So she's like an amplified version of Prime Minister Abe, who unfortunately passed away. But she's made different, and she has an excellent staff too. She has a young staff. Like the key ministers are very young. They're like in their 40s. One lady was like, I think 42, and they're all like superheroes. They're like Marvel heroes. They're like changing all the bad old practices. They're roasting like malicious media reporters and everything, and everyone's enjoying this time right now. She's a different strain, yes. We love her. Where was I? So the vision, so this is it. That's the constitution. So the vision Japanese people set forth 1,400 years ago has finally become a reality after noble rule and samurai rule and modern rule. And what they didn't expect is that politeness and a responsible attitude also became a unique Japanese identity. They didn't expect that. But here we are. So now, all the points in the ancient constitution we saw today are expected of modern Japanese adults, right? If you can't do any of them, you won't fit in Japan. But looking at this in another way, Japanese people don't expect non-Japanese people to nail everything. Of course not, right? Their expectations are lower if you don't look Japanese, right? If you look Asian, then it's a little harder for you because they will expect you to behave like themselves. So if a non-Japanese person comes along and he or she is ticking all the manner boxes, like the major ones, that's instant heartthrob, you know, full on respect, right? At least you start off with a super good impression, right? So to wrap up for today, we can have a Q&A session after this. Let's review some simple things you can remember to do to leave a good impression to Japanese people. So working with others in Japanese culture. Simple. Let me just catch this question. Been a big fan of your content for a while now. I do have a question. It's a bit of a stereotype that Japanese WLB is horrendous. Work-life balance is horrendous, but it seems like the West is now not strictly better. What are the main differences you see here, may I ask? Work-life balance. Right, so to set the background, Japan had been following the lead of Western work cultures until recently, still now, of course. But if, for example, the US, we hear that the US introduced work-life balance. Oh, okay, then we need to do it too. It was like that before. So there were no like, ownership of leadership in Japan for a long time, until Takaichi-san. Well, we didn't take the first move. We always were second. We just observed what other major countries were doing and followed suit. That's all we did. So it was very so we're like 5 years to 10 years behind what's happening in Europe and the US. So you guys kind of started talking about work-life balance. So now we value work-life balance. All companies, especially the major ones, the traditional ones, they were not used to that concept. So not only the companies trying to change their rules, set guidelines on going home at 5. You need to go home by 5. Only 1 hour of work time, overtime work is allowed. Those kind of rules, but the employees were so used to the heavy workload and the what do you call it, the expectation of meeting deadlines that they didn't go home. Like they would stay until like 11 p.m., 12 p.m. And when bosses stay until 11 to 12 p.m., it's very hard for their subordinates to go home early, right? So they had to change their. They try many things, like one telecommunications company, a major one. They turn off the lights at 6 p.m. so that they can't work. They turn off the electricity so that people would be forced to go home. But still, people took home their laptops and worked at home. So it was a very chronic issue that they had to overcome. Nowadays, with younger companies, there are many startups now, and they are starting to kind of override or eclipse the traditional heavy workload and culture. So for the better, I think. So yeah, I think we're at a point where we're trying to see a balanced median. Like we're trying to see a medium point where it's most comfortable or most fitting for each company. I think that's what's happening right now. All right. ね。So let's go through some basic things that you can remember to do. To greet someone, when you greet someone, you don't need to like bow like this. This is a little too much. So just a mini bow is fine. Like this is called eshaku in Japanese. Right now. Eshaku. This is like a. This is good. I just thought of a good definition for this. This is a just because bow. This is a just because bow. So whenever you see someone, you acknowledge their existence. They came in, so you just do this. It's like this sound. That's enough. It's like a salutation. It's like when you see a customer off, like they're getting on the elevator and they push the button and the doors are closing, you bow like this to each other. Each other bows to each other like this until you can't see them. Right, so that's the most polite in business settings. So that's the salutation bow, and like the picture we saw earlier about the politician, an apology is like this. This is an apology. It's a pretty deep bow. Okay, so those are the only bows you will see, and this is the only real bow you ever do, mini bow. Okay, so just remember this face and the voice, right, and then you'll be fine. The weakest bow. That's right. That's right. Just use the weakest bow. You only need to do the jabs. Okay. So when you meet or see somebody, try to be. How early? We covered this, right? How early do you need to be when you meet someone? Right. Be at least 5 minutes early. Right. And then you'll leave a good impression. Right. And then they'll say, "Oh, did you have to wait for me?" And then you say, "Oh no, I just got here." This cliche happens all the time in formal settings and informal settings, both usually. 5 minutes, that's right. Good. Right, so you got that right. That's right. But of course, trains run late sometimes, although it's rare, or something happens, something comes up, and you have to be late. In that case, if you're going to be late, just message or call that person that you will be late, and everything's fine. So it's not that rigid, if you think about it. They even say that if someone is half an hour late, so, I know that from anime. That's right. That's great. Yeah. So some like modern setting, anime set in like modern settings, they of course reflect many of the reality of Japan, of course. Dogeza, yeah, dogeza is like so that's dogeza is like scratching your head on the floor, bowing, that type of bow. That doesn't happen now. maybe, I don't know, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, until then, there are some times when, arrogant, Karen type of customers would force employees of, a service provider to, give them a dogeza. But that's illegal now. So you can call the cops if you see that. When you negotiate with a counterpart, this is actually one of the maybe a difficult concept to understand for non-Japanese workers. Come to the negotiation table with a consensus. What does that mean? Right? So you need to lay the groundwork. So again, harmony, avoiding conflicts is like a virtue in Japan. So before that negotiation meeting, you meet all the stakeholders beforehand and get their agreement, get their buy-in one by one. And then by the time you go on the negotiation table, you already know what all the other people are going to say. And you act like it's the first time hearing it. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much for agreeing to my proposal. Thank you. You act like that. It's very pretentious, but that's how it works. You have to lay the groundwork for. Otherwise, you'll probably come out of the negotiation meeting without a consensus, without anything done. So there are no surprises. You have the meetings are like a ritual, right? It's like a ceremony, more than a place to negotiate. When you make a mistake, if you make a mistake at work, or even with your friends, the most respectable thing to do is to report it immediately. And of course, apologize, right? Apologize and report it immediately. Do not hide it, right? Because you will be found out later anyway. And you will not be given responsibility again, right? Again, as I said earlier, you won't get fired in Japanese companies very easily until you have 5-6 offenses. But they will do everything else. They will exile you. They will exile you to the countryside. If you work in Tokyo and then you inconvenienced the company significantly, chances are that next year you will be exiled to I don't know to a remote island or something. Like the Nissan Honda merger that went through the window because Nissan kept changing their consensus every meeting. Well, I don't know the details of that news. I just know that they try to have a talk and then it didn't come well. But maybe I don't know. I assume the Nissan side didn't come with a consensus. They didn't lay the groundwork before they negotiated. I'm not sure, but maybe so. Hello, welcome. We're almost going to be going to the Q&A session, but okay. So a sincere apology and then making up for your mistake will actually win you more trust. So it's actually a chance, right? So when you make a mistake, you can think of it as a chance to win even more trust. And finally, it's grateful when people say they want to make friends with Japanese people, but we need to remember that it takes time to build trust. Again, they'll be wearing a formal, not formal, they will be wearing a public mask when you first meet them. And they'll only show you their public face until you go out on a karaoke night or a drinking party. Then you'll see their real personalities. The mask comes off, and you can see if you want to be friends with him or her then. But anyway, at the first meeting, you cannot expect to make friends, right? Once you build trust, once you repeat the informal occasions with these people, you tend to have a lasting personal or business relationship. They will try to keep the relationship intact. Okay, so that's my quick course on how Japan started off as a douchebag, douchebag population, and then came 1,400 years to become who we are right now. It took a very long time, and there were many mistakes made along the way, and that's how I see why Japanese people are said to be polite now. Okay, so I'll be happy to entertain any questions. Maybe I'll stick around for another 30 minutes. I know it's late, very late for some of you, so good night if you need to go to bed. But let's entertain some questions. Do you feel Brazilians adapt well to Japanese culture? I know there's a lot of us in Japan due to the Japanese colony here in Sao Paulo. I know there's a lot of us in Japan. Right. So, I've never been to, I haven't been to Nagoya, but in Aichi Prefecture, where Toyota headquarters is, there's a big Brazilian community there. I've never been to the Brazilian community myself, but yeah, I hear from like Japanese Brazilians that like I think there's more understanding of Japanese people because they live, they're neighbors, right? So and one thing is how like me, I'm actually presenting myself as an extroverted person on camera, but actually I'm a serious introvert. So I personally feel if that more lively, energetic spirit of, maybe this is a stereotype, but of Brazilian people come to Japan more, I think it will create a healthy polarity with the native Japanese people, and I can imagine happy couples, rather than a Japanese person who's uptight, an uptight person and a jolly person. They might make great couples. I don't know, my personal opinion. I've always been curious what your favorite manga, music, films may be, if you wish to share. Also, I would appreciate a way to purchase autographed copies of your book. Okay. Well, first of all, autographed copies. Yeah, I'm trying to work that out, but it's very difficult because my books are sold through Amazon, which are printed on demand. So it's printed in your country if it's available, if Amazon avails my books in your country. So it's not like I have like a stock of books at home that I can sign. So, but in the future, when I start, I think it's next year, start working with the more traditional publishers, I don't know, I might have, what do you call it, that book rating, or I don't know, I might show up in public too. Hopefully, we'll have those kind of occasions soon. And your question was, what's my favorite manga, what was it? Manga, music, or films? Okay. Music. I told people last time that I was a music major in university, and I liked bossa nova music. So I listened to a lot of Brazilian music back in the day. I liked their rhythm. I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called. It's slipping. But I made a lot of. I majored in composition, so I made a lot of Brazilian inspired music myself. So I'm Antonio Jobim and Joan Gilberto. Those are, I listen to them like every month on Spotify. Manga. Manga. When I was in high school and university, I loved Gintama. Gintama was a sensation. It's like a comedy manga set in the in a pseudo Edo period. But it was a sensation because of the trash talk. The trash talk was so bad, it was unprecedented until the Gintama. So that was a life changer. I really enjoyed it. I laughed to tears every volume I read. Nowadays it's ended, but there's a manga called Sengoku. It's about the Sengoku period, the war-torn era of Japan. It's very well historically backed. The author is a historical researcher who goes to the site of battles and then investigates himself what actually must have happened, and he makes it into manga. And it's quite historically accurate, but very dramatic. And I love the series. Like there's like 77 volumes or something, and it's already finished though. So I don't buy new manga now. Films, Ghibli films. Unfortunately, in Japan, we can't see Ghibli films on Netflix because it's the Japan territory doesn't allow. It's not allowed in the Japan territory. So I'll have to wait until Ghibli sorts out their rights issues with whatever parties they're involved with. But I've watched all Ghibli films. My most favorite Ghibli film is Mononoke Hime, Princess Mononoke. Again, Miyazaki Hayao, he's extremely knowledgeable about Japanese history and Japanese folklore, and there are so many homages to them in all of his films, actually. So, very impressive. All right, and anything else? Has a night of karaoke ever changed your opinion of someone? Has a night of karaoke ever changed your opinion of someone? No, not me, but I told you I was a music major, so I played the piano, I played the guitar, I played the violin, I played the viola, I played the trumpet at one point, and of course I was a songwriter too. Until I was like 30 years old, I released 2 albums on iTunes. So I sang myself. So I think I'm well, now I'm very rusty. I can't sing anymore. But back then I was pretty good. So, but I never said that. So karaoke is a chance. I was young, so why do men start music? It's because they want to get laid, right? So, so the same thing, right? I want to be popular to girls. That's why I started music. So of course, I don't know about other countries, but in Japan, having skills in singing, it actually helps in what do you call it, being popular to girls. So because we have that karaoke venue, right? We have that occasion that and karaoke is like very cheap. So even high schoolers, junior high schools, they can just go with their allowances and enjoy like a 2-hour, 3-hour session anytime. So there are many chances to show what you've got, right? And so I kept it my secret that I can actually sing. And then when I went out with my colleagues, I would sing full on what a singer voice that probably changed the impression of me in the eyes of my colleagues, for example. Right? That's how you use karaoke, guys. Okay. Where's the best degree to study if I want one day move to Japan? That's an interesting question. Degree. Yeah. I don't think the degree would matter. If you want to one day move to Japan, of course, you need to be employed in Japan. So you need to be hired. There are 2 big ways. One is you apply to, for example, you apply to a foreign, like a global company that has offices in Japan, like Amazon. Like there's a Amazon Amazon Japanese headquarters in Meguro. It's like 2 or 3 stations away from Shibuya, and there are many non-Japanese people working there, and maybe half of them don't speak a word of Japanese. But if you work in the IT field, I don't know about 10 years from now, but at least for now, if you work in the IT field, if you're an engineer, you have a high chance of being able to pick where you want to work, and Japan could be a place. That's one way, and that's actually very good because the pay scale goes by Western standards, not Japanese standards. So the yen is weak now, so if you get paid in yen, your pay won't be as high as your peers who may be another engineer, for example. Engineer in the US, for example, it will be much lower. But if you work for international global companies that have quarters in Japan, you can maintain the level of pay and still work in Japan, which is like heaven, Japan, if you don't have to be rich to enjoy Japan at all, but it gives you a lot of leverage in enjoying the place because there's a lot of places to travel. Even I've been living here for like 40 years, but even I haven't traveled to every corner I should have traveled to in Japan. So there's a lot you can do, and money will help, right? So I think that's the best way to come to Japan, come to live in Japan. The other way is to be employed by a Japanese company. In that case, it helps a lot to have a good command of Japanese. So in that case, the degree doesn't matter, but you should be spending like, I don't know, 30 minutes a day, no matter what, studying Japanese, practicing Japanese, and make that a habit and continue for 2 years, and you probably have 2 or 3 years, and you probably have enough Japanese to get you to the door of an interview with a Japanese company, for example, right? All right. What are your views on Miyamoto Musashi, Stoicism and mindfulness of others? Miyamoto Musashi. Right. I understand that Miyamoto Musashi is very popular outside Japan because his books on him have been published in other languages. He is, of course, everyone knows Musashi in Japan too, but he's not the most he's not the most frequently appearing. He was not the historical figure who appears the most frequently in conversations about history in Japan. He was a sword master with 2 swords, and he had these showdowns with multiple sword masters, but he never lost. But to be honest, like he lived in the Edo period. Edo period is a peaceful time, right? So Japan was done for with war, at least the shogunate was, and people are not supposed to be killing each other, right? So it's like he was having matches with other sword masters, and death is closely linked to sword fighting, yes, but he was killing people in a peaceful time. So I think that's one reason, it's like he's not as celebrated as the Sengoku period warlords, where winning in battle was their job. But Miyamoto Musashi, it's not his job, it's his hobby, right? It's his hobby, it's his life work, but it's also his hobby to kind of defeat people and in the course kill them, right? So it's not as respected as you might think in Japan. Yeah, thank you for this informative and entertaining class, Ko-san. You are excellent sensei. Please do this again. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm planning to focus on not just the Sengoku period, but I'm planning to do this type of course a few times. It's good for my practice too in speaking live. So please expect more, and thank you for coming today. We are very extroverted and we like our fun. Carnival is crazy indeed. And I don't know if you know, but there's a samba parade in many parts of Tokyo every year. There are samba groups that parade through the neighborhoods during festival seasons. So apparently it's a big thing in Japan. There are many Japanese people dressed in those, what do you call those costumes? Those all tanned, and so there are people who are very welcoming of that kind of culture, that liveliness. So there's a space for that in Japan too. All right, and it was a treat to look at YouTube and see that there was a live stream already going on. I've learned a lot. Thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. Learning from my experience as a schooler, everyone has experience as a schooler, but as an experience as a schooler, learning becomes so easy when it's fun, when it's laughable, right? So I always wanted the teacher I have become, right? And I have become that teacher, that dream teacher. So I'm very glad that you feel that way. Thank you. Due to NJPW wrestler Minoru Suzuki, Kaze ni Nare by Ayumi Nakamura has become one of my favorite songs. 風になれ. I'll have to listen to that. I think I'm pretty sure I've listened to it before, but I'll check it out. Thank you. I would love to work for Toyota in hopes of moving to Aichi Prefecture someday. Would love to retire to Japanese countryside. Oh yeah, that's my goal. Retire in the Japanese countryside. I would love to do that. I've had it with Tokyo. Now, Tokyo's nice. It's very convenient to live, but I don't know, the nature is so great in Japan, and my favorite place, like within 10 years, within 5 years, hopefully, you'll find me in Nagano Prefecture. The air tastes different, right? The moment you step outside the Shinkansen at Karuizawa Station to Nagano Prefecture, the air tastes different, and I've resolved myself that I want to be breathing this air every single morning for the rest of my life. So that's what I'm working towards. And who spent some time in northern my friend who spent some time in northern Japan told me there is no word for love in Japanese. Is that true? Love, I think love in the sense that it's used in English. It probably doesn't. Of course, there are close ones, but there's no direct equivalent. So love in English is a very all-encompassing word. It means so many things, and the emotion that comes with it, it means so many things. But there are two words that would translate to love in Japanese: ai, koi. Let me write that down. There's ai and koi. So ai is like obsession. Ai is like obsession. So originally it meant obsession. So right now in Japanese songs, some singers sing aishiteru, aishiteru, right? Although we never say it. So I don't like those kind of songs. But it's unnatural. But I used to mean an obsession with things or your hobby, right? And then it was later, because it was the closest equivalent to, closest alternative to a would-be translation of the word love in English, when in English came in around the late 19th century. So I was used to translate love. But there's also koi. Koi is like more of a crush, right? So what you feel, that butterflies you feel when you fall in love with someone, that's koi. So it's like the early stages of love, right? That infatuation that you have temporarily, that's koi. That's it. So there's no like I love you. Like when you say I love you in the English sense, it's like, what do you call it? It's hard to explain in words. I love you. I care about you. You are the most important person in my life. What else does it mean? You make me happy. Those words don't exist in Japan. In Japanese now. Right, so it's a long story. Maybe I'll talk about love in Japan in some future session. But yes, it's technically true that I could say that yes, there's no direct equivalent of the word love in Japanese. Thank you very much. I love your honest take on many aspects of Japanese culture. My daughter is traveling to Japan in September as part of her Japanese class. Oh, wow, that's great. So hopefully she'll be able to use what she's learned and enjoy her stay here. I love the nature in Nagano. Stunning scenery over there. Right. So they have this thing called the mountains called the Japanese Alps. And in autumn to spring, of course, the tops are coated with snow, and it looks really nice. So you always have that scenic background wherever you look in Nagano. So it's very nice. It's much in terms of altitude, it's much lower than the Swiss Alps, but Japan has something similar. Yes. Anything else? I'll take a few more. In my language, it also feels awkward to say I love you, and I find it very difficult to use it seriously in English too. Right. Like, yeah, when I dated a non-Japanese person, actually for a long time, I had to kind of learn to say I love you. It was not difficult, but I understand that I would never have said this if I was not dating a non-Japanese person. What do you think about the Shogun series? Thank you for asking. So I'm thinking about doing something related to the Shogun series next year. Maybe talk about the background of the history that the story is based on, for example. But Shogun series is really good. I've watched the whole series a little late, but I did, and it's very well historically backed. There's a serious research team, I can tell, behind them, and acting's great too. What else? Like the storyline, I'm trying to do something next year about related to Shogun, because I realized, well, after watching it, I realized that people would enjoy it like 10 times more if they knew what actually happened in history, and these tidbits about things that are not said but shown, and people won't catch unless they know. There are so many things that only Japanese people who are historically well versed would recognize in Shogun. So there are many Easter eggs that I would like to point out. So please look forward to it next year. I saw "aishiteru" meant I love you. Yes. So it's when you translate "I love you," it'll be "aishiteru," which we never say. But it's just that's the nearest thing that we had in our language. That's all. But the way you say the reasons people in English-speaking countries say "I love you," we don't do that in Japan. So in that sense, there is no equivalent to "I love you" in Japanese. How is it that Japan has a female prime minister now, but the emperor's daughter can't reign to the profit of her cousin? I'll have to explain this in another course, I guess. It's not a short type content. It will not be a short type content. It's too long. It's too complicated to talk in a 3-minute short. So it will have to be a course. But there's a history of things going very south when a female emperor was born in ancient Japan. It was not due to her being a woman, but the imperial family almost perished, or the bloodline almost ended due to something that happened in the ancient past. And well, it was because the emperor was a woman. I don't know how to explain this. Basically, she fell in love with a monk who's of course not part of the imperial family, and then she favored him so much that she fell in love with him, and she tried to give him everything he wanted, and he tried to become the next emperor. And that was outrageous. And to prevent that from happening, they stopped enthroning female imperial family members for how many years? For 600 years. And then it was revived briefly in the Edo period. So it might come back. May I ask your thoughts on Godzilla -1, if you saw it? For me, one of the best films of all time in any genre because of human story. I saw 11 times in the theater. 11 times in the theater, wow, and cried every time. I haven't seen Godzilla -1 yet. I have seen several Godzilla films, so I'll have to see it. So if you've seen it 11 times, then I should see it at least once. Okay. So leave it to me. I'll watch it, and I'll let you know. I love your samurai reading your message and gives motivation shorts. Will you be doing more of it in the future? Samurai reading your message. Ah, right. that one that, like, I pretend like I got a letter from the audience and I'm like a samurai radio DJ and say things like, what did I say? What did I say? You need to seppuku! Like that, right? You said something like that in a Japanese accent, in a samurai accent. I don't know. The YouTube and Instagram didn't like it. The algorithm didn't like it. So I don't know if I should be doing more of that, but I don't know. I'll think about it. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So maybe I'll take one more question and we'll wrap up for today, I guess. Can I ask what samurai family are you from? I'm not from a samurai family. I'm pretty sure I'm not from a samurai family. Although, all Japanese people who live in Japan now, it is said that they descended from, most of them descended from one of 4 families. They're not all samurai, but there's the Fujiwara family. They were very powerful court noble family, and Tachibana family. They have many poets, and the Genji family. This is a samurai family, and the Taira family, the Heike family. Taira Heike is the same thing. So these last 2 are samurai families, and all people in Japan, if you trace back enough times, they root from these 4 families. It said that. So chances are that. But actually, I remember my mother's side is a descendant of a retainer of Date Masamune. Date Masamune is a feudal lord in the late Sengoku period and the early Edo period, who ruled the Sendai area, northeastern Japan. So I heard that from my grandmother that the retainer was secretary of Date Masamune. So his job was to write down, keep a record of what he says, what he did. So I guess so. Okay, so maybe I was a descendant of samurai family of not the Date family, but a samurai family in the Sendai area, the Fushimi family. That's my mother's side's maiden name. Just wanted to thank you for all the content you provide us daily, and also thank you for this live session. It's been very kind of you to stay here with us answering all our questions. Looking forward to the next ones. I look forward to the next one too. Thank you very much. All right. Have a great weekend. Yes, thank you very much. And Merry Christmas. It's a bit late, but I hope I timed this live session right so that nobody's busy with relatives and partying. And thank you very much. Please look forward to more shorts and more books. Actually, I'm working on a children's book too. So you'll see a lot happening next year. Thank you very much. And I'll see you around. I'll post a recording of this sometime today, hopefully. All right. Thank you for the live session discourses. We're big fans of your content, and it's great to listen to you live. I've been watching for more. Thank you. All right. So maybe within a month, I'll do it again. All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good day. Sleep tight. Happy holidays.